Rick, good morning. How are you?
Morning, boys. Tired. It was a big day yesterday.
Yeah.
How many people were over there?
Really interesting point on that. We were talking about it. There was really nobody behind the media, just a few people. And I said, you remember when Gibbs came back? This place was jammed.
Jamming. Oh, yeah. I was there for that one. Yep.
Yeah, and I didn't see any players. Now, maybe they walked in at the last minute and I didn't see them. But no, it was quiet other than that. And it was actually a very quiet room for once. But I thought it was really I thought a couple of things about this. One, karma comes around in life. It comes and goes. What's been on the other side of the planet for 30 years? But I think it might be back here. And I watched the three guys and said, we haven't seen an owner, a GM, a coach like this, since Cook's days. And even then Cook didn't do it much. And
what do you mean? What do you mean?
You see a synergy up there of three people who are actually together on the same wavelength, who are competent people at what they do. This goes back to Cook. It's been, Snider didn't even show up at some of these things, or he'd sit in the audience or something. But you could see the three together. You could see the alignment of vision between them and the synergy chemistry that they have. They picked the right guy for what they wanted. Ben Johnson did them a huge favor pulling out because he would have failed. If he didn't think he was ready, he would have failed and wasted a few years of our time. This is the right moment for these three. Different ways of looking at it. You've got a new owner still learning this game but willing to support it. You got a young Turk GM ready to cut his teeth in things, and you got a veteran coach who's not really a retread or a wore-out guy, but somebody ready to go back and prove himself again. And there's a lot of good things to look at there.
Yeah, I was really impressed by sort of his energy level and his sort of thoughtfulness and how serious he's clearly been waiting for this opportunity, sort of reevaluating everything that he's done and just being ready for this moment. And then also, just as you kind of touch on, the relationship with Peters, it seems like this has the potential to really work, right? These guys, they seem like they've hit it off. They both are, like, Peters is really kind of soft-spoken. I don't see them like super button heads and being stubborn, maybe more Quinn than Peters. But I just get the sense that they're going to work together.
Yeah, Bobby and Gibbs, Bobby Beathard and Gibbs, had a good relationship. They weren't necessarily best friends,
right?
And there was a line between them,
right?
But they got along really well. And Bobby really wasn't a big outspoken guy either, like that. He was a scout. These kind of guys lurk in the shadows more,
right? And
I think that's more Peters too. They're not so much in the front because they don't want people noticing what they're doing because their whole job is secrecy of what do you want. And I just thought it was a good thing to watch. Quinn talked for almost an hour. I think this is my 12th coach. Most coaches talk, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe, and, take some pictures and go. This went on for an hour. You kind of look at your watch like, okay, I get it. You're ready to go. So that was interesting. He shows me one thing that's surprised me. He's an old school coach. And the old school, you guys are now old enough to remember old school, was basically somebody told you to do it and shut up and go do it. Well, he's figured it out that the new NFL and the new people in life, really younger people, have to be invested in the process and all this crap, and he's able to, I think, bridge that gap and do that. EB, his problem was he might listen to you, but he really wasn't, I don't think, and that just didn't fail. But Quinn, I think, can make people together. The thing to remember about him, too, is he was the secondary coach of the Legion of Boom in Seattle. That was a great, great secondary that won a Super Bowl, but it also had 4 huge personalities. And containing that kind of dynamic into one unit cohesively is impossible, and he did it. So there's a lot to see what he can do as a coach. I think of the recent coaches, he might remind me most of Marty Schottenheimer, but I think a little more polished than Marty.
Rick, Ron Rivera was great at sticking his foot in his mouth in front of the media. He did it so many times. It doesn't seem to me like Dan Quinn is going to be that sort of guy. He seems pretty gregarious with the media. He seems at ease with them, comfortable in front of them. Do you think he's going to be better? He has to be better than Ron. There's no way he's worse than Ron with the media.
Yeah, I mean, Ron wasn't awful with the media. I mean, but you got tired of it. Every time you get tired of coaches, you love their stories the first year, and then we all get tired of hearing them.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll be fine. I don't think he'll make those type of mistakes, but I don't know. We all do gotcha anymore. So, he laughed. He kind of said, I'm going to give myself one curse word, and then he used two. But still, it was, he's not a guy to trifle with on the field. I know that much. He may listen to you and be understanding. He'll still kick you in the butt if you don't get it done. So I like that about him.
Mm-hmm.
I think people judged him too soon because you didn't really know him, but that's what we do now. And I think this is going to work. I'm going to stick around for a while and watch this instead of retire.
Maybe I'm an easy sell because I felt kind of the same about Rivera when he was hired because I thought it was a good hire. I thought it's what the team needed: someone professional, someone who's been a head coach, someone who's won. But I think I got a different vibe on this one, a better vibe. And just because, I've kind of paid attention to Dan Quinn more than I did Rivera. But how do you feel about the other hires? How are you feeling about Kingsbury coming in as OC and then Joe Witt Jr. stealing him from Dallas? And I'm guessing some more guys are going to be coming in from Dallas too. But specifically, what about the coordinators for you?
Kingsbury, I think, is a great hire. And people are like, oh, he was a failed coach. Well, not really. Arizona had some good moments, but he's not asked to be a head coach. He's asked to be an offensive coordinator, and he's very good at that. So does this mean that Caleb Williams is coming? That's an interesting part that I would like to see because can he say, normally he's going to say, I love this kid. He was my guy at USC, but can you now be objective enough to say at the pro level, what can he be? And they're going to have to rely on that opinion heavily. So is he true to himself and this team by giving an honest opinion on whether that kid is worth it? That's going to be interesting. Witt, Witt's not the most inspiring thing, but he knows Dan's system, and that's the real positive, that they're going to be on the same wavelength. And so he's like 1A for Quinn. He's going to get, Witt's going to get the call to plays. To me, I'd say, here's your first person to meet, Emmanuel Forbes. They couldn't figure this out last year. It's your job to figure this out this year. And this is what you guys do well, secondary players. So, you didn't hire him just for Forbes, but you need this kind of guy. I don't think Curl will be back. So I think they're going to do a real reload. Here's the problem with Curl. He's a free agent. Mm-hmm. You can tag him. It's going to cost you $17 million.
Yeah.
He's not worth it.
That's too much. Yeah. I mean, it's not worth it. He's not Troy Polamalu.
And this staff is not going to be, they don't care. Like, they're not going to be.
Yeah,
they don't have
no
a relationship with him
whatsoever.
And you can't spend. I mean, he's a good player, but you're right. He's not worth $17 million.
Right, but here's what I would tell him: go see if anybody else can give you 17. No, but then here's that problem: players won't come back for equal money or whatever because it looks like they failed. I've seen this a million times. They'll go somewhere else, even a little less, and say, I wanted a new opportunity or whatever. And I didn't think he played his best ball last year either. He was a good player on a bad defense, and that made him look better than he was.
Mm-hmm. Rick, you know that in this league you can have quick turnarounds. You don't necessarily have to have quick turnarounds. I wonder if you think that this team can turn around, because at one point they were a 4-5 team. The year before they were 8-1, and then they just went in the tank and they seemed to give up on Ron, and they lost their last 8 games in a row. What do you think is the bar for the first season under Dan Quinn?
One of the most interesting things about the Super Bowl Sunday to me is these two teams played 4 years ago in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. They have 7 combined players from that team.
That's amazing.
Right? Kansas City keeps winning with totally new people every year. So, why can't somebody else do it? This year, I don't know. A lot of it's up to Peters. How well is this draft going to be? You need like a 1981 draft when Bobby Beathard took Mark May, then Grimm, then Dexter, Clint Didier, Charlie Brown. I mean, that was a great draft. That guy, and Jacoby came along as an undrafted. You need something big, out of these drafts the next year or two. But if you can get that, the coaching staff can make them win. But you got to have the talent. And outside of your interior D-line and maybe a couple receivers, you're a total reboot at anything. So if they want to go with a new quarterback, personally, I would try and get Justin Fields for a lower pick and trade the 2 down.
Wow.
I don't trust any of these quarterbacks to be generational quarterbacks in the draft.
Really?
I don't see.
Why? What's the flaw that you see?
The Caleb Williams thing, I don't see him making all the plays for starters. I think he's a decent quarterback. I'd take him late in the first, but I wouldn't go with a 1-2 pick. Look what losing a number 2 pick does to you. Look what Chase did, is a bust. There's a lot of guys like that they've had. It's too risky, and you need too much.
So you don't love Caleb. What about Jaden Daniels?
They're nice quarterbacks. So I wouldn't go with a 2. That's the problem. The 2 has to be pretty much as much a sure thing as you can ask for in the league, and that's, of course, impossible. But you flame out again, you set your team back several years. So I think you
yeah, but then if you don't take the guy, it almost feels like you're playing scared.
I think Sam Howell can be a decent quarterback given, your blocking and things. Don't make him throw the most passes. He can be your bridge guy for a little bit. If you can get Justin Fields for that 2 or 3 to talk about overall on the second, third, I think he's ready to be a bigger contributor.
I don't hate that plan.
Well, here's the problem.
I don't hate it at all,
here's the problem with Fields, his contract. So if you trade for Fields, it's not like you're trading for a first-year guy where you can sit on that contract, that rookie contract. He's going to be up for an extension, and are you willing to give Justin Fields a big contract?
Well, is anybody?
That's what I mean. But you'd have to be in that situation because he's just 1 year away from that.
But he might not get it from anybody.
That's a very good point. Very good point.
Andy's a frustrating player to watch. He'll have a good week or two. We saw it against the Commanders this past season, and then he'll have duds.
Maybe Kingsbury can make him better. I mean, maybe he just needs a different, change of scenery. But I don't know. That's just
Did you get
risk.
to watch Drake May in college much?
No, I don't get to watch a lot of it, but I watch a lot of film at times on him. He made Sam Howell look. They all make Sam Howell look small. I thought he was fine, but I just don't want to spend a number 2 pick on a guy that doesn't make me go, wow, wow, wow. And you don't get them every year. Look at the recent quarterback drafts. The top guys that flamed out a lot. It's a big risk for a team that desperately needs it. Now, Dan Snider would have gone for that quarterback, no doubt. He would have traded up. How much do you need to trade up one spot to get a guy? That's crazy.
You know who else is a free agent?
Baker Mayfield.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
Kirk Cousins.
I'd kill for Kirk.
I'm just saying, he's out there.
Are you kidding? That'd be a guaranteed answer for the next 3 years.
Would you rather have Kirk or Baker?
Kirk.
Baker's younger.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Kirk. Kirk's more proven. He's more even.
What about Rick? Who would you rather have, Kirk Cousins or Baker Mayfield?
Well, I'll just say this. I think the fan base doesn't want either, but they'll take Baker first. They're just sour on Kirk, and all Kirk did was throw for 4,000 yards. But, Kirk comes off a little disingenuous at times, too.
No, for sure.
Absolutely.
He's a country boy who's going to stick a knife in you. I mean, so Baker's got ties to this coaching staff. So, he had a decent year last year. You could maybe go there, but that's going to cost you definitely 2.
What are the ties?
Yeah,
the ties are to who?
You asked me this at 7 in the morning.
Well, Mayfield has ties to Kingsbury.
Yeah. He did play under Kingsbury?
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, they had ties in the old days. So, he would at least know that. And there's another advantage of having Kingsbury. I think Kingsbury's a really smart guy. He's their top offensive play caller in quite a while.
So
this team has been hurt by their coordinators. Coordinators haven't done this team a lot of favors in recent years.
So did you feel better about just on yesterday? I know it's recency, but did you feel better about yesterday's presser or Rivera's presser?
Oh, yesterday. Yeah. I mean, listen, Rivera was the right guy to pick at that time for so many other reasons, but it wore out and it was time to go. So it was time to hire him and it was time to fire him on this one. This one, I think he has a little more energy. I think Ron, I don't want to speak to Ron, the cancer thing, but, I had a major health scare in my life, too. I know what it's like. It takes something out of you.
Yeah.
And, Ron did the best he could. There were days that they had to carry Ron in the back door of the building after chemo treatments, right? How are you going to be down on a guy like that who's still trying to do it? He gave it everything he had. He just didn't have enough anymore, and it hurt. And then it all fell apart this past year. It was a year too long on that. And, this guy definitely has the energy of it again, but energy is not enough. You have to be smart and know how to pull the chemistry together. And that's what this new coach wants to do. I got coordinators. They're good guys. I'm the bridge that brings it all together. And he's smart enough now after one tenure to do it. And I don't think getting a second-year second-time coach is a bad thing because second-time coaches have won 10 of the last 20 Super Bowls. Now, Belichick got a bunch of them, but it's not like first-timers win it all.
No, for sure.
I don't think.
For sure.
I think
I like
City
to
takes it again.
hire. I like to hire way more as he's assembled his staff, as you hear him talk. I mean, maybe we all do this inevitably. You try to buy in, but I'm excited. I think if you're a Commanders fan, you're more excited today after having watched that presser, after seeing the staff he's put together. Like if he brought in like North Turner to be his offensive coordinator and, some other like ancient guy like Wade Phillips to be his DC.
Some old relics.
Yeah,
you'd question it.
You'd be wondering what the hell's going on here. It's kind of like what Ron did.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. I mean, you hire your friends most of the times. Quinn has never worked with Kingsbury, but he's always admired his work.
Yeah.
And Kingsbury's young, and Witt's a young guy. So you have some new energy there. We'll see who the other assistants all are. I mean, we're going to see a lot of moving boxes in the next few days. They told EB, hey, thanks for everything, but, we're moving on.
Isn't it interesting that these guys will get hired eventually because it is a good old boy network and they look out for each other. But Del Rio hasn't been hired as far as I know. Ron hasn't been hired as far as I know. Bieniemy hasn't been hired as far as I know. I think a lot of the other guys are still maybe under contract, but this staff wasn't like in high demand.
Yeah, it wasn't the Shanahan tree.
No, it certainly
Far
wasn't.
from it.
All right, Rick, thanks for the time as always. It's always appreciated. Give him a follow if you're not already on Twitter at @Snide_remarks and read his column on thefandc.com. Thanks a lot, Rick.
All right, guys. See you.
All right, buddy.
Yep.